So the Philadelphia Eagles finally have a bit of controversy for once, but it's not exactly what you think. We'll talk about the details of that. Also, a new trade target has emerged. Could the Birds go out and land one of the hottest names on the market right now? Well, it kind of depends on what happens with another situation. And today, we also get more context from Howie Roseman on that as well. We'll get into all of it, but welcome into A to Z Philly. I'm RB. Do me a favor, like this video. Go down below, subscribe to the channel. Appreciate everybody continuing to rock with our Eagles coverage. And we'll start it off with the big controversy of the day. Oh, Lord, the Eagles finally have a little bit of drama brewing. Not really. Well, today, Saquon Barkley put this tweet out, and this is what he said. Some people are really upset that I played golf and flew to the White House and with the president. Maybe I just respect the office. Not a hard concept to understand. Just golfed with Obama not too long ago. And I look forward to finishing my round with Trump. Now get out of my mentions with all this politics and have an amazing day. This comes after a photo surfaced of Saquon yesterday playing a round of golf with President Trump. Obviously, the Eagles had their visit to the White House today, but not everybody showed up. On the other hand, a handful of players did not attend the White House visit. Jalen Hurts, AJ, Devontae, Brandon Graham, Darius Slay. ESP reported that there was maybe 30, and that's a stretch of players, coaches, etc. in attendance. So obviously with this term and with the people in office right now, it's going to be controversial either way. Even during their last term, there were teams and players that did show up, that did not show up. So I knew that there would be buzz and controversy around this. And look, I'm not making this into a politics channel or anything like that. I'm not going to give you my opinion. I don't care about your opinion. Nobody should care about anybody's opinion. The way I feel is that each of these players have the right to decide if they want to go. Some of them did, some of them did not. There were people online today saying they will never support Saquon again and they're going to burn his jersey and all this stuff. I think we're kind of going overboard a little bit, but at the end of the day, everybody has their own opinion and that's kind of where it's at. So, almost half the team did not show up. And here is an explanation just to lighten it up a bit from CJGJ Johnson on why he did not go to the White House. Take a listen.
Yo, I went at the White House because I was getting fat. If any of them people I getting fat at the crib. So go ahead and sponsor me 2 weeks because I'm finna give you a deal too. But yeah. And this is the real reason. I ain't want to go to the White House because I ain't want to put on that tight-ass fucking suit. Have my fucking neck all up here and shit. You see how big my neck is?
CJGJ Johnson is a character, man. CJ is an interesting guy. A couple of the other former Eagles, now former Eagles were there. Mekhi Becton and saw a couple others as well. But how about CJGJ Johnson, man? Interesting guy. Maybe this is why they traded him. Maybe because he was getting fat. He said he was eating Chewy bars. Maybe that's why they traded him. I don't know. Anyway, man, last but not least, President Trump says the NFL should keep the tush push. So there's another advocate to keep the play that everybody's hating on. And who was it at the draft? Was it Bo Allen when he announced the pick or whoever it was came out and said, sorry, Green Bay, because the draft was in Green Bay, but the NFL should keep the tush push. And then they all cried and whined. But nonetheless, that's done with. It's over with. And now we can go back to our actual Birds talk, which is Dallas Goedert. I talked in my last video about Dallas Goedert. Howie Roseman had mentioned him, but we really hadn't heard the full context yet in the press conference. And based on their actions, right, of not drafting a tight end at all in the draft, I mean, it seems pretty logical, right, that Dallas Goedert is going to be back. And then when you just think about the Eagles' strategy and how they've traditionally done things, usually they draft and develop for a year or two before they get rid of the veteran. Now, Dallas Goedert has 1 year left. He does not have any guaranteed money. They just won the Super Bowl, so I get it, right? His value, he feels, is higher. He played well in the playoffs, and he wants a pay raise. Meanwhile, the Eagles on the other end are saying, hey, we had to trade off some vets already. We can't afford everybody. You need to take a pay cut. So that's where the differences lie. However, we finally have some more context on what Howie Roseman thinks about this. He was asked, quote, does not drafting a tight end change anything with Dallas and his future? He said, you know, Dallas is part of the team as we speak. Obviously, as we go forward, we're going to continue to address things on this team right now, nothing further. And then somebody said, do you see a path where Dallas can come back at this point? Then Howie Roseman had a very intriguing answer. He says, Dallas is a heck of a player, heck of a person. Certainly don't want to do anything publicly where we are discussing anybody's business, but have so much respect for him, have been to 2 Super Bowls together. Obviously would love him on this team. You always love having Dallas on this team, but we're not there right now with any of that, but love Dallas Goedert. So maybe it's not as surefire as I said a couple days ago. Maybe they don't have a deal. Maybe the Eagles are kind of just winging this thing, you know? And I honestly feel like that kind of benefits the Birds because all the teams drafted already, right? And they already made their moves and they already decided what they wanted to do. And, you know, the Colts, who were really interested in Goddard, ended up going to get Tyler Warren in the draft. And the Bears got Colson Loveland, and other teams drafted their tight end. Seattle took a tight end. So I think when I'm looking at this, like at some point, Dallas Goedert is, you know, for lack of a better term, going to have to suck it up and play. He's going to have to come back and just play and hope that another team sees value in him and gives him that contract maybe next year. But overall, I agree with Howie. You don't want to like piss anybody off and start, you know, putting things out in the media. Handle your business behind the scenes. And I think the Eagles should be able to find a way to get it done. Matter of fact, when we look at the tight ends right now, salary-wise, I mean, for this upcoming season, as of right now, Dallas Goedert is 5th in annual salary. I don't know what he's really expecting. Like, you know, does he want 17 a year, 18? Does he want to be the highest paid tight end and break the Trey McBride record that was just set a couple weeks ago? Overall, I like Dallas Goedert. I think he's a big game player, shows up in the big moments, but he does miss a lot of games, durability concerns, and he's 30 now. He's only getting older, and this is the age where the Eagles moved on from Zach Ertz. So I think Goddard really has to look at this situation. I think Howie can kind of extend it for maybe the next 3-4 years. Maybe they pay him less per year, but for a longer duration. But that's up to the GM of the football team. But if they don't sign Dallas Goedert, or even if they do, should they go out and acquire Michael Mayer? According to a couple sources, the Eagles are now the favorites to trade for Michael Mayer, a tight end with the Las Vegas Raiders. And to put it simply, Michael Mayer has had a bad luck of the draw because this guy was one of the most, you know, storied players with Notre Dame, put up really good numbers, right? A fan favorite. And he gets drafted a couple years in the 2nd round. And then last year, the Raiders get a generational talent in Brock Bowers to fall down to 13. And they say, you know what, we're going to draft Brock Bowers. And the guy has, 150 targets in his rookie year. So, you know, this guy's in a tough spot. And maybe he wants out. Maybe his agent will try to push him elsewhere. And, you know, the Raiders have already, according to sources, fielded calls on Michael Mayer. So should the Eagles go out and get this guy? Still young, 23, 24 years old. Played 11 games last year. Only had 21 catches for 156 yards. But he only had 32 targets. He's only had 72 targets in 2 years, and he has 460 yards and 2 touchdowns. So obviously it doesn't feel like it's going to work with the Raiders, but a young guy, still a project, still a work in progress, a guy you can develop and bring in, and a guy that can be mentored by Dallas Goedert for the next year or two. And even if Dallas plays out this year, doesn't get the contract extension from the Eagles, you know, he can be like that supporting factor for Michael Mayer the same way Zach Ertz was for Dallas Goedert. So would this make sense? Absolutely. Whether you keep Dallas Goedert or not, I think this is a really good chance to go buy lower on a player who, coming out of the draft a couple years ago, I think it was Dalton Kincaid and then Sam Laporta before him. You know, he was right up there with the best of the best. And there was a lot of tight ends taken in the first couple rounds, and his name, you know, was constantly popping up. Pretty good tight end in college. So right now he's going into the 3rd year of his rookie deal, and I think this makes a lot of sense, both from an Eagles standpoint to try to buy lower and go get another tight end for this team, but also for the Raiders to part with a guy who really it just has not worked out. And also not to mention that the guy that drafted Michael Mayer is no longer the GM of the Raiders, right? So different structure, different philosophy. The guys that they brought in free agency are also backup tight ends, but they've been in the league a little bit longer and you kind of know what they are. I feel like in a way you don't really know the story or the full story, we'll say, on Michael Mayer. And I think the Eagles will try to poach some guys from other rosters depending on how this situation plays out. If I'm Dallas Goedert, Sure, you might not get the pay raise this year, but let's say the Eagles go on another deep run. Let's say they go back to the Super Bowl and win it. Well, now you're likely to get even more money, So we'll see what happens, but that's where my thoughts are. What do you think? Should the Eagles go and trade for a tight end? Give me your thoughts down below. Appreciate everybody for tapping in. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, I'll catch you on the next one.